Welcome back to My Dad Watches The Bachelor. I'm Meredith, and I'm here with my co-host, my dad.
Hey Meredith, how's it going today?
Oh, it's going great. I love seeing the top four women's family be accepting of Clayton and not think he's questionable at all. What was that?
I don't know. This one's always hard for me because the thought of you bringing home some fellow that I've never not met, and all of a sudden you could be getting engaged, and you're about to go to quote unquote fantasy suites, and he's still dating three other girls. I mean, it's a pretty hot mess.
Yeah, and usually the leads, especially the male leads, usually get some prickly family members to deal with, and I don't feel like Clayton had to experience that at all.
So does this, maybe Clayton is better with families than either you or I anticipated. Do you want to give Clayton some credit for that? Maybe he's just a smooth operator.
No, I'm not giving Clayton credit for that. I'm actually discrediting the families for that.
Okay. Well, were there any highlights in last night's Meet the Family episode for you?
Yeah, I enjoyed Susie doing jujitsu with Clayton. We have a position called shrimping, which is funny considering, how much shrimp has followed around Clayton this season. It's been a big buzzword of the season. And I also enjoy, it looked like Susie could kick Clayton's ass.
Well, Clayton's a big, strong dude, but Susie did seem to enjoy choking Clayton.
Yeah, well, it seemed like Clayton enjoyed being choked by Susie.
Well, she's got some jujitsu experience, and yeah, she can handle herself. She's quite the versatile young lady.
She is. And I enjoyed her bond with her dad. You haven't been sick, so we don't have like the same type of relationship, but Susie was saying that he's set such a high bar and it makes it hard for guys to live up to it because he's just so great. And you know what, Dad? You're a pretty great dad as well.
That's very sweet. That's very nice. I appreciate you saying that, and obviously, watching that episode, the connection that Susie has with her father is quite heartwarming, and I don't think they really told us what sort of illness he had, but it sounds like he had some pretty serious stuff going on. So we hope that he is on the road to recovery. He seemed to be in pretty good shape for the 10 minutes we saw him on television last night. So good for them.
Yeah, what about you? Do you have some highs? I have a few more, but I'll
Well,
turn the floor to you.
okay. Well, no, well, I put down. I was very surprised to find that Gabby was a Denver Broncos cheerleader for 5 years. Which I mean no disrespect to Gabby. She just seemed she doesn't strike me as the cheerleader type. She just seems a little quirky and eccentric. I didn't really see her that way, and I was not good, bad, or indifferent. It was sort of a surprise. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, Gabby just surprises us every week.
At the very end when the credits were rolling, I found it very amusing that Gabby was critiquing Clayton's feet and toes and brought up the issue of toe shaving, which I'm an old guy. I've not been the manscape. My generation missed out on a lot of this. Fortunately for me, but I didn't know that. Men are supposed to shave their toes now?
I mean, nothing against it if you want to. I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's just maybe it seems weird because the rest of Clayton doesn't seem that hairy. It seems like he does manscape like his chest and stuff. So just go all the way with it.
Okay, I did. That's hairy toes. Is that a deal breaker for you, or we're not going to worry about that?
I mean, there are worse things.
Okay. Of course, to me, the biggest highlight was Gabby's grandfather, who, he's more fun than a barrel of monkeys. He's just laughing, and he's got a semi-risque sense of humor, and he throws around. We had to bleep him out a few times, and he just seems like one of the most pleasant people we've met on this whole franchise.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Gabby's grandpa. We've been getting ads for the senior bachelor for a while now, and we know that he's single. So I'm throwing his hat in the ring. I would like to see him be our senior bachelor.
Yeah, I think I'd like to find some way to keep him on television. I'm not sure Senior Bachelor is the way that I'd like to do that, but you know, is there a role for him? Well, let's replace Jesse Palmer with Gabby's grandpa as we go forward. I mean, I think he would be full of wisdom and all sorts of interesting things. Who knows where the program could go?
Well, another way we could get him on our screen is if Gabby is our next bachelorette, which, it seemed like she was getting a good bachelorette edit this week. She's taking Clayton hiking to Proposal Rock and then takes him to a hot tub in the middle of the woods. And if that's not a bachelorette audition, I don't know what is.
You always run into lots of hot tubs in the woods, here in North Carolina. Whenever I go hiking, it's, oh, look, there's a hot tub. Why didn't we bring our bathing suits?
Mm-hmm.
So.
And plus, Gabby has no shot of winning this season because Clayton didn't meet her dad. He didn't meet the parents at all. So I just don't see Clayton getting down on one knee for someone he hasn't even met, like a parent of.
I mean, is for this show for someone to get engaged, is that really a requirement? I mean, perhaps we're meeting the parents in this very short, very controlled. We have cameras rolling fashion. I don't know. I don't think Gabby's going to win, but I'm not ready to rule her out at this point in time.
I am ready to rule her out. I think that it's not like a 100% given, but I think that Clayton is going to care about meeting the family, or he's going to be able to use that as an excuse.
Okay. You have any other highs that you would like to share?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, that's about what I had as well.
Okay, my main low here is that the families were just way too nice and let Clayton off too easily. Like, Rachel even hyped up how much her dad hated everyone, and it was a totally fine conversation. Like, didn't seem bad at all.
Well, he certainly looked the part, didn't he? He looked like he came right off the set of The Sopranos or something. I mean, this guy looks like a mafioso fellow. Yeah, I think he smiled at the very end when he was talking to Rachel, and Rachel was telling her dad how mean he is with most people, and that he doesn't really like anybody or anything like that. And I think he sort of smiled, maybe to say, "Oh, come on, honey. If you love him, I love him. It's going to be okay." But yeah, he's not the kind of guy that I think you want to mess around with. He looked pretty scary to me.
He did look scary. I did like what he said, though. Like, he's like, I can't give you my blessing. Like, I haven't even talked to Rachel about it yet. Like, that seemed like a very fair, solid answer. And Susie's dad had a similar answer. Like, he was saying that he trusted Susie's judgment. Susie says you're a good guy, then you must be a good guy. But, bad call, dads. These girls are wrong about Clayton. They're wrong. Clayton's not a good guy.
I don't think Clayton's a bad guy. I just don't think I don't think he's a vanilla guy.
I don't think Clayton knows what he's doing. Like, so Serene goes home this week, and when Serene tells Clayton that she's in love with him, he just has like this dumb, goofy grin on his face. He doesn't know what he's doing. He just loves that everyone loves him. He's happy to be there, loves the attention. Like, I think he would take anyone at this point. Like, he's not picky. I'm not sure he knows that he's ever been in love before. Like, he just doesn't know what he's doing.
He's a kid in the candy store, and he's got the chance to try licorice and Reese's cups and everything, and he's ready to gobble it all down. He can't choose.
Like, there was one interview that they did, or that Clayton did, where he's like talking about how he's going to have to break 3 people's hearts to make one happy. And he had like this weird grin on his face while he was saying it. Like, it just looked like he wasn't that upset about the situation.
I know, but we've seen these previews throughout the whole season where Clayton is like melting down, saying that he's just broken and he can't take it any longer, and he's running away.
My guess is that he's broken because all the girls leave him. No one wants to be with him anymore after they find out he's in love with all of them. and was intimate with two of them, and they have too much self-respect to stay with him. That's what I'm hoping happens.
Well, I think that's probably a good working theory based on what we've seen and the fact that didn't you share last week that one of the showrunners was saying it's totally unpredictable. You can't tell what's going to happen, and for all we know, they end with nothing. But then Clayton reconciles with somebody in the last episode, and they decide that they will date.
They filmed the Women Tell All last week, and I've heard that coming out of the Women Tell All, that number one, Jesse Palmer said that he doesn't even know how it ends, and he would have been at the final rose ceremony to know how it ends. And number two, apparently all the women just like bashed Clayton the whole time, so it could be fun.
Well, I figured that we were going to get Shanae bashing. I mean, the
I think we're going to
previews.
get a lot of bashing.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly.
Okay, continuing with our lows. I thought that like Gabby's dad's Love Actually moment was sweet, but I didn't understand why he didn't just talk to her. I thought that was weird.
Yeah, I agree. So for those that get their bachelor fix from us, I thought it was strange. Number one, Gabby tells us that her dad is not going to be there. I think she said because her dad's longtime girlfriend was diagnosed with cancer and they have COVID concerns, so he cannot be around family, which we assume this was shot in the fall. I mean, right now, COVID
It's when Omicron was starting to pick up.
Okay. So, I mean, it was right now things are calming down. We're feeling a little bit better about COVID, but it was at a time when COVID concerns were probably higher. So that makes sense. But then she's throwing this whole mishmash of people at Port Clayton. I can't remember the names of our nephews and half of our family. And Gabby comes in hot saying, well, we got grandpa, we got uncle somebody, we got aunt somebody, we got a cousin. And, to me, I fell for Clayton. I thought that was a lot to throw at Port Clayton.
Well, it was only 4 people total. It's not like he was walking into a big family get together.
Yeah, but it was they're from all over the place. So that to me that was sort of a curveball that Port Clayton had to deal with. And then the emotional. We sure wish that Gabby's dad was here. She misses him so much. And the car horn honks, and she goes outside. And a fellow that we assume is her dad comes out with signs, doesn't say a word. I guess it looks like they're, I don't know, 15, 20 yards apart. It's not like, hello, Meredith, I miss you, I love you. It was just, I have signs that I'm going to show. It was very, very weird. He doesn't speak.
Yeah, maybe he spoke afterwards and they just cut it out, but it was odd. Like you can kind of like talk loudly from the porch to the street to say hi to each other, but it was nice that he showed up. Just a little odd.
Yeah. Well, I guess my last low light was the date that Rachel and Clayton went on. Was this they were canoeing through some swamp in Florida. And as you know, I'm not a big fan of the alligators, and then at some point they like jump in the water. Now I got to think they were fairly confident that there were no alligators in that water, but I'm not jumping in that swampy Florida water. That didn't look good to me.
Yeah, I would have been nervous. I do think, would have been cool if they had an alligator encounter, add a little spice to the episode, but instead they just saw a spider.
Yeah, well, and Clayton screamed like a little girl.
Yeah. Speaking of, that goes into my next low of Serene's date at the ropes course, where Clayton also screamed like a little girl. And I thought there was just something so weird about Serene's date at the ropes course. And I think it was because like that ropes course looked like it was made for children, and they were freaking out during it. Like they were about to jump off a plane or something. Like it just really, I'm like not scared of heights, but it just didn't seem that intense. And the way Clayton was acting made it seem like it was a life or death scenario. And also, did you notice what shoes he was wearing?
Not really.
he was wearing like business shoes. Serene didn't let him change into some sneakers to do the ropes course. Gabby had some hiking boots for him when they went hiking. Nothing like that for Clayton. So she kind of did him dirty, making him walk around the ropes course with some business shoes on. But just Clayton was a total baby. Like, I think that would have given me the ick.
Well, maybe he was acting a little bit for the cameras. I don't know. I mean,
He's a terrible actor.
no, he may well be. I mean, I thought it was a little over the top. I mean, in my experience, generally these ropes courses are, even if you make a little slip here and there, you're not really going anywhere. You're tied in, tethered in. Not good for business if people start falling to their death in your ropes courses. So.
It didn't even look like a hard part that Clayton was freaking out on. You like had places to put each foot, walk back and forth like a little stone path in the air.
Well, he's got big hobbit feet. It's hard to hit those little childlike steps there.
I guess this shows us why there were never any like skydiving, bungee jumping, rappelling dates this season, and it's because Clayton's a baby about it.
Well, that's all I got for Lowe's.
Me too.
Okay.
My right reason, I'm giving it to Gabby's dad, or maybe like all of the dads. I feel like the dads did well this episode, but I liked that Gabby's dad didn't really participate that much.
Well, I can respect that.
And like he had a good reason for not participating. COVID concerns for his girlfriend who has cancer. Great reason. But even though the other dads did participate, like I love Gabby's family. I want to give them as much shout outs as I can.
Well, I have two, and I've already mentioned that Gabby's grandpa, he's a rock star. He to me stole the show, so I had to put him there. But I also put Serene's big brother, who I thought was mature and thoughtful and protective of Serene. And I liked how he handled himself with Clayton. He went out and had a conversation with Clayton, and I think Serene said that her parents got divorced when she was pretty young, and it sounds like she doesn't have a relationship with her father. I don't know, and I like the brother. I don't even know what his name was, but I thought he was a good character last night.
I liked his accent. It was like a weird George Bush Barack Obama combo.
Well, whatever. But you could tell how protective he was, and that he had Serene's best interests in his mind. And I guess unfortunately, he's going to be doing some consoling since Serene was the one that went home last night.
Yeah, I do sometimes try and put myself in those shoes. Like Serene said that she'd never seen her brother get emotional before like that, and I'm trying to think, if I brought a guy home in this situation, like I've never seen my brother get emotional about anything involving me really, except maybe when I went to college. And I'm trying to imagine him like getting teary-eyed talking about feelings and stuff, and I would have just been like, what the fuck is going on? This is insane.
Well, be careful with your language, but your brother would probably just look at the fellow and say, "Stay out of my grill."
Probably. All right, we ready for the wrong reason?
Go ahead.
Giving it to Clayton. Shocker. He just looks so happy and carefree, listening to all these ladies say they're in love with him, falling in love with him, whatever stage of bachelor love they're in with him. And we know he's about to destroy all of them in the next episodes. And it's just like, I also will give any reason I can to give Clayton the award of wrong reason. I'm done with him.
Well, I tell you, last night after I watched the episode, I was struggling to come up with the wrong reason. And then this morning, before the podcast, I was thinking about it. And to me, there was one obvious wrong reason. Clayton. Poor Clayton, yes. You don't fall in love with 4 girls or 3 girls. It's like, I guess you can say I love or I like different ice cream flavors, but you got to have one favorite ice cream flavor. You can't just have one. You can't have three or four favorite ice cream flavors. You got to come up with your one. He does not seem to grasp this concept. We've seen people on this silly show who have taken care of their business well. Like I would say Tasha. I think I remind you when someone gets
Michelle.
when people get to this point, I in this show, I don't feel it's good to send them home at a rose ceremony. I think that you go and talk to them. If there's any seriousness to this, if you're really having a relationship with somebody and they've been there that long, I think that you go and as our friend Jesse Palmer said, there really aren't any rules. Go to their room, sit down with her, look her in the eye, and say, "Look, I need to. Our relationship is ending here. I don't know the right words, but man up, do it. Don't do it at the rose ceremony."
Yeah, well, I mean, usually there's starting at top four when someone goes home, you walk them to the car. There's like a pretty emotional goodbye moment, like talking through what happened. And Clayton didn't really seem interested in having that with Serene. Like he seemed very indifferent towards her. I don't know. He just like didn't seem like he liked her that much when he was sending her home.
Yeah, sort of like you're the odd one out. Sorry, So anyway, yeah, I don't think he handled his business well, and sorry, don't mean to agree with you. I like podcast controversy, but I really
This
felt there
is
was no
just
other
too
way to
easy
go
to
here.
agree on.
Yeah, no other way to go there.
All right, my MVP. You've talked about him a lot. Gabby's grandpa. He just gave us such great one liners, you know. He sits down with Gabby after talking to Clayton and he said, I think he's full of shit. And I was like, oh my God. And then you realize it's a joke because he's like, oh, I think he's full of shit for liking you. And they just start laughing at each other. Like, it's just such a good moment. He tells Clayton that Gabby's always been a lovable dingbat. And, and then he talks to Gabby about how, you know, he says something about how he's going to haunt her if something happens after he dies. And she says, I hope you haunt me no matter what. They're weird and it's fun to watch. And, it gives me good laughs. And you can't hate it at all. It's good TV. And I just enjoyed pretty much all of Gabby's hometown date. I love Gabby. I hope she's our next bachelorette.
Well, I endorse your choice 100%, and we're on the grandpa train there, so that's good. So, but let me leave you with a little bit of fatherly advice.
Oh, please.
So, per Susie, dads are the gold standard for who you're going to want to marry. So, hopefully, we're creating the right image for the person you want to marry. Not necessarily looks, but at least the way we carry ourselves. So, anyway, um, some advice from the wise grandpa, Gabby's grandpa. Don't be in a hurry. Take the time to know each other. Made me question whether he's ever actually watched this show and how it works. But anyway, I think it's still good advice of taking your time and watching it. And finally, we talked a little bit about Rachel's dad. The fact that it looks like he might. I wonder if he came from the witness protection program because he looks like he's a gangster. I hope now that he's been on television that he doesn't have an accident this week when bad people find him. I hope that's not the case. But they came out of the house and they started making out, Rachel and Clayton, right on the porch there. Don't make out on Rachel's dad's front porch. I don't think that's a safe place to be making out with the daughter. I think you need to get a little bit out of the sight lines. Let's keep away from Tony, Rachel's dad. So that would be my fatherly advice for the day.
That's smart. Let's avoid Tony.
Avoid Tony. He'll kill you.
All right. Well, we did find out last night that we have a double header next week of Monday and Tuesday night for Fantasy Suites and Women Tell All, which means that our regular Tuesday episode drop will be on Wednesday. and we're just going to combine it all into one. So, if you're waiting bated breath for our episode next Tuesday, just wait one more day and you'll get it.
It's going to be worth it. I have no doubt.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for next week. I think that we're going to get a lot of drama.
I'm just going to have to make sure I've got enough bourbon to get through 2 episodes.
Ooh, well, good thing you have a few days to prepare.
All right. ABC Store, I'm coming your way.
Well, if you're enjoying the podcast, make sure to comment, rate, subscribe to us anywhere you listen to podcasts. As always, we'd like to thank The Mesh for hosting us. And join us next time to hear about fantasy suites and the women tell all from the right perspective and my dad's.